So thank you for being willing to come and be part of this.
That's all right.
And I will do my best to do something useful, something beneficial. Now, I know nothing about you, so maybe we can start. Would it be okay to just tell me a little bit about yourself? What sorts of things do you like to do? What sorts of things have you been doing recently that have been okay, enjoyable? Maybe not just today, but in the recent past. Or
I've been getting together with my friends, sorting out things to try and get custody back of my children, because my children and my partner left on the 3rd of January, and I've sorted out my whole house because it was a total putrid mess, you could say.
Okay.
And it took me 4.5 tons worth of skip and 4 trailer loads of rubbish to clean it up, and now I've got it into the ship-shape condition that I wanted in for my children.
That's quite an achievement.
And that sort of thing. It did take me 3 months to do, but I did it, and now Care and Protection are trying to state that my children don't want to be anywhere near me, and that sort of thing, because of allegations that my ex-partner's brother has made against me, which is all completely false. And now I've got custody, like visitation rights every Sunday, which I've just come back from, which today's didn't happen because of certain things. So I'm not that very happy at the moment.
I can imagine.
And that sort of thing, considering last Sunday was one of the best visits that I've had with my 2 daughters, and that sort of thing, because before that it was all like virtual stay away from dad. Dad's the bad person in all this. And last week was them jumping all over me, doing puzzles with me. My youngest one was, and all this sort of stuff. And then supposedly I had a phone call on my message bank saying that they weren't coming, but I showed up to the visit, and then I get told that they're not coming when I get there.
That's today, you mean?
Yep.
Okay. And before all this, it sounds like a war zone. You went through like horrendous times there.
My whole life practically has been a war zone, because my epilepsy was caused by my father kicking me around the head with steel cap boots under the age of 4 months old. So therefore it's a brain injury, not hereditary or anything like that. It's a bruise on the left temporal lobe of my brain, and that's where I fit from, and that sort of thing. And
you're a bit of a survivor. You cope with being hit around the head, and
I was also, when I got put into care at 4 months old, I had a broken ankle that had re-healed into the same position, and they had to re-break that and put it into a cast, and it formed back into the normal shape that it should have been. I was also taken off them because I was malnourished. I wasn't fed for a week, I wasn't changed for a week or anything like that. And I was also drowned by my mother under the age of 4 months old. I was sold for sexual doings between the ages of 8 and 12 when I was put back into their care. And now I'm going under Owen Harris to go and get the proceedings done for the things that I was between the age of 8 and 12, because I was told that if it ever came out that I would be harmed or I would be killed by my father, because he was getting the sum of $2,000 to $5,000 every time it happened, because I was told that I was getting taken to McDonald's, and I wasn't. I was getting taken up behind Fraser Primary School, and if I've already had 9 strokes, why is it that I can forget my daughter's 2nd birthday but not forget something as harsh as that, and as harsh as what I've been through, and that sort of thing? And I just can't understand why I was told that both of them that did it to me was dead, and I've just not long found out that one of them's still alive and a full-blown drug addict in Civic and lives in Ainsley Village.
Now, you've been through unthinkable, unimaginable, horrendous experiences, and there's nothing that I can do about what has happened. It's happened. And I'm wondering if there was something that could happen here in our conversation. If there was something that could happen that could make some difference, however small, to your experience. If something could happen here to be useful, what would that be? What could that be?
Just for a bit of peace of mind.
Peace of mind.
So I wasn't thinking about it and stressing about it all the time, like I do. Because every night I lay there and think about wanting to go around and do something to my father, but I know that if I was to do that, that it would end up in a total manner that I don't want it to happen.
Yeah, it's totally understandable that you want to do that. But
because my children are my number one. And that's what I think about every time I think of that horrible thought.
But that would prevent you, if you went ahead with that, that would get in the way of you being with the children.
Exactly.
So if you look back, in between some of those, God, they're just unimaginable things. Was there anything in amongst that mess and just horror that there's been in any way enjoyable, in any way...
The only enjoyable things out of my life was the birth of my 2 children.
Okay. And the actual birth, do you mean, when they were actually born, or the fact that they have been born?
The fact that they had been born, and I was able to raise them the way I wasn't. Because I never treated them the way I was treated.
Yes.
And that was my main goal in life, was to treat my children the way I wasn't treated.
Yes, so that no one would wish your experiences on anyone. You wouldn't wish that on anyone. But there's something, your children in some way are going to benefit from that.
And that's it, because my brother has gone down the exact same path as my father. And that sort of thing.
Who's gone down that path?
My brother.
Your brother.
And it's only just myself and my brother in the family. And I have taken a total different cycle and total different road to my brother, because there is such thing as you take the same path as your father and your family history, or there's another path that is free and open, that you take your own choices, and that's the path that I took.
Yeah, if you take the path that your family's taken, you'll end up in the same place that your family's in.
And that's it. And that's how I see it.
So you have to take a different path.
Because I looked back on my history, and there was 10 fathers before my father had done the same thing. And there was no way I was going to do that.
When you say family history, what do you mean by 10 fathers? Do you mean
like my father's father?
10 generations back.
10 generations back, sort of thing.
That's what I thought you meant, but I wasn't. Gosh, so there's a well-worn path towards that same
clique of people.
And how you managed to not take that same path? Because it must have been like the path was kind of cut deeply. It must have been easy. It would have been easy to have just followed that path.
It would have been majorly easy for me to follow that path, but as soon as I got put back into their care at the age of 8, I only stayed with them for 4 years. And then I put myself back into care at the age of 12. And then I got back out of their care at 2 days before.
Okay, so you took a step to get off that path.
Yep, and put myself back into care at the age of 12, and then I got put back into their care at 2 days before the age of 16. And then on my 16th birthday, he tried to slam me again, and he was also trying to punch into my mother, and my mother has the after effects of polio. So she has a crippled up hand and she can hardly walk properly. And in my eyes, you don't hit women. It's a disgusting thing that you do, especially a disabled woman.
So you've got very high standards about these things, haven't you? And somehow those high standards have come as a reaction, from what I'm hearing, as a reaction to the very low standards of your father and his father and his father and his father and his father. But somehow out of that, like out of that mess that was in your house, all the stuff that you've cleared out, they've not only cleared out the mess in your house, but you've cleared out some of the mess in your family history.
Yeah.
So that's where your high standards have come from.
And that's it. Because I don't want to turn out like him,
No.
and I don't want to turn out like her either.
Yes, and that must make the pain of not being able to see your kids even more acute.
It does.
Because, your life is about them.
And that's it.
Mm. So there's nothing we can do here to somehow magically make that okay. You all know that.
And that's it.
Yeah. But if you could somehow be more peaceful about that, more peaceful in yourself, so that you could be somehow more connected with your standards and what you know is important, rather than reacting against what your father's doing and what the courts are doing and what all that's doing, which we know would be unhelpful. It's natural, but unhelpful. So somehow, if you are able to be more peacefully connected with you and the feelings you have for your two daughters, and be more peaceful about that, it seems to me that, that you're saying that would be helpful to you.
Yeah.
And my guess is, and it's only a guess, I can't know, that might make it just at least a little more likely that you'll be able to see more of your kids.
Yeah.
Do you think that's right? Am I hearing you right? Is that
Yeah.
Okay.
And it'll be less strenuous on me as well.
Yes. Less strenuous on you, yeah.
The less stress that I have is more better for me.
And fewer chances of being with your kids.
And my chances of being with my kids.
And when you are with them.
My epilepsy as well.
And with your epilepsy.
Because stress is a very big major factor in my epilepsy.
Of course.
And considering that since my partner and that has left, I have not had any sort of turn for 4 months. And my doctor is now saying that it's all under control. And I have not been in hospital now for almost 19 months with my static epilepticus fix.
You're really making some progress
and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
They are all saying that I'm keeping my stress levels to the state that I should be having them.
Right.
And that sort of stuff.
Well,
my epilepsy is now under control. And that sort of thing with the medication that I've pushed to be put on, because I was on Epilum and that was not working for me, as they were saying that I was getting, resistant to most of my medication. I got put on to 3,000 milligrams of Keppra and 2 milligrams of Rivotril a day. And I was also on 2,000 milligrams of Epilum a day, and I fought for 4.5 years for that to get taken off. And they kept on taking me off it, putting me back on it, taking me off it, putting me back on it.
You're very determined.
And then I got and saw Professor Lewick, and I said, now, I can't live like this no more. It's just beyond the joke. I have children, they are seeing me fit. I am screaming because of the oxygen levels that I can't get into my system while I am fitting. Therefore, they brought an oxygen tank in to stop my screaming while I'm fitting because I wasn't getting the oxygen. And that helped a little bit. And then they took me off the Epilum, wouldn't replace it with nothing else. And then I started fitting again. They put me straight back on the Epilum, and I said, no, it is not that. You need to exactly take me off the Epilum and put me on something else. And then they ended up finally taking me off the Epilum, putting me on 200 milligrams of Topamax, a full 1,800 milligram drop of medication. And since I've been on that Topamax, I have not had a static epilepticus fit for 19 months almost. And that's where I was fitting for 2 to 3 hours at a time.
You're really very in touch with what works for you. You knew that the Epilum wasn't it.
And that's it.
And you know that the stress isn't it.
And that's it.
And you knew that the way your family was doing things was not it. So, and you know that being more peaceful is going to further help what was the stress, so that as you're even less stressful, and more peaceful, that's going to be beneficial to you and your family, your children, your daughters and your relationship with them. So you really know that. And when you bring that determination that you have to take charge of your life and your experience, like you've done with the custody, with the when you were younger, with the rubbish in your house, with the epilim, with so many things. When you make up your mind about that and you know about that, then I think you're going to have a very good chance of having the peace that you know is going to be useful for you and beneficial for you and your relationship with your daughters and your future relationship with them and their future relationship with each other and their children and their children and their children and their children. So this is a really important kind of pivotal point for you. It's a really important time in your life to have that other direction. And I wonder if it would be okay, Adam, if you were to just close your eyes for a moment. And remember the time last week when you were playing with your daughters? And when you were playing those games, when you were doing those puzzles, and whatever else that you were doing that was so connecting for you, so useful, beneficial for you, for each of them, for both of them, for the three of you. And if you could, in some way, just allow yourself to begin to focus on some part of that time that you had with them. Even though it wasn't a lot of time, it's that much more precious because it was limited time. But to just without needing to choose something, to find yourself focusing on some part of that time with them when you were doing that puzzle, when you were playing, when you were whatever you were doing. And somehow, as you begin to focus on that, to just naturally, because it's so precious to you, allow yourself to become more absorbed in this experience of being with them, having fun with them, being peaceful with them, enjoying them, them enjoying each other and you and whatever. Not that it was perfect, it doesn't have to be perfect, but to just find yourself then being more naturally, peacefully absorbed in the experience of being with these two precious daughters of yours. And as you are in this experience, as you are focusing on it to whatever degree that you are, as you are allowing yourself to be as absorbed in this experience as you are, to somehow be in it even more connectedly, even more in the experience. And I can tell, just from my experience, by observing the way that you are able to respond to this idea, with the stillness in your body, with the subtle change in your breathing, in the way your facial muscles are smoothed out, the way your breathing is just so. My experience tells me that you are someone who can be very responsive to this way of exploring, this way of learning, this way of finding what you want, that you know that you want, that when you know that you can have it, is going to really make such a difference to you. And as you are in this experience, as if you really are playing with these girls, really are in this puzzle with them, in doing whatever you're doing that's so enjoyable, without disturbing that, and by allowing yourself to be in it perhaps even more as you speak about it, to let me know when you focus on this and get absorbed in this experience, if you could just leave your eyes closed so that you can be in it for the time, and tell me, what is it that you're doing at the moment? What are you, is it a puzzle? Are you reading? What are you doing with these girls? What's happening that's so lovely for them and for you? Can you put it into words? Playing with Lillian? How old is Lillian?
8.
She's 8. Ah. And cuddling her? Yeah. And how is it for you to be cuddling her? How does that feel for you?
It's the most awesome feeling in my life.
Most awesome feeling, yeah. And as you can, if you would, just allow yourself to be in this experience of cuddling her and feeling how awesome it is. Can you allow yourself to notice how you can also feel peaceful in cuddling her? This is what your life is about, this connection with her, being with her. And can you let yourself feel how peaceful this is for you? Can you notice that peaceful feeling? Yeah. Good. And what's your other daughter doing?
It's sitting there playing puzzles, asking me to come over.
What's your other daughter's name?
Odessa.
What's her name?
Odessa.
Odessa. And how old is she?
Just turned 5.
Just turning 5. She's about to turn 5?
Just has.
Just has turned 5. Ah. And she's doing a puzzle. What's the puzzle?
The puzzles on Big Bird and Oscar the Grouch.
Big Bird, Oscar the Grouch. Okay. And she's asking you to help?
Yeah.
Yeah. And what's it like for her to, what's it like for you to be there and she's there doing this puzzle and she wants you to help her? How does that feel?
Amazing.
It's amazing, yeah. And can you feel that connection with her so peaceful? She's there, she's sitting next to you, not cuddling her, she's sitting next to you. But can you feel that connection and how amazing that is? Yeah. And also, can you also notice how peaceful you feel?
Very peaceful.
Very peaceful. And if you would, I'd like you to notice how it is for you to really feel peaceful. To let yourself be amazed by the experience of feeling peaceful. With Odessa sitting there with that puzzle, Big Bird and Oscar the Grouch. And feel how peaceful that is, and really feel that. And also to notice how peaceful you feel. Here's Lillian, you're cuddling. It's so awesome to feel that connection and feel peaceful. And if you would somehow allow yourself to really feel that peaceful feeling. And you can feel that peaceful feeling, can you not? Yeah. And you can be amazed by that. You can be in awe about that. And you can feel that peaceful feeling. And you can feel your peaceful feeling at this time, in this place. Even though you know in this room here, Odessa is not here. Lillian's not here. But that peaceful feeling of knowing that they're not far away in your experience, knowing how important it is for them and for you and for the three of you, for you to have this peaceful feeling. You can bring that peaceful feeling of being with your two daughters. You can bring it into this room. You can bring it into your experience here, now, because it is your feeling of peace. Because it is important to you for you to be able to feel this peaceful feeling. It's yours. You can bring it here. You can take it anywhere. Because it belongs to you. And I can say, and I've got no way of knowing how you can make sense of this, that a lot of what's happened to you in the past has been so horrendous. And it can be like the rubbish that was in your house. You can clear it out. You can put it in a skip bin. You can get rid of all of that, anything of that that you no longer want. So that anything that is there in the past that you no longer want, you can throw it out. I'm not saying you should. But if there's anything in the past that can get in the way of you being on the path that you want to be on, you can get rid of it. You can throw it out. Now, I'm saying that. And I've got no way of knowing how you can hear that, no way of knowing how you can make sense of that, no way of knowing even if that seems useful for you. So I'm just saying that in case some of it could be useful, knowing that you'll know what to keep, what to give away, what to throw away, what to do, so that you can stay on your path that is going to lead peacefully into a future, and it's already started, into a future where you can be peaceful and just drop anything that gets in the way of, just let go of anything in the way that can interfere with that, so that you can then, in a peaceful way, which is a function of you, can allow you to be on your path and not on that other path of your father and his father and his father's father, with all of that aggression, all of that violence, and all of that getting back, and all of that, resentment, and all of that bitterness, all of that awfulness. That's their path. It's not your path. And so if there's anything of their path, any of that stuff, you can get rid of it. And that feeling of peace that is so important, that you can then be determined to take the peaceful path that's going to have you be connected with your daughter and them with you. I know when my eldest son was in his early 20s, he and I were very close. And he went overseas. And was overseas for more than a year. And I didn't see him all that time. But I know, and he told me that he knew, that even though we didn't see each other, there was a very strong sense of closeness and connection. Now, your daughters are not in this room, but they don't have to be here physically for you to feel that strong, precious connection with them. To feel the awesome connection with Lily. That amazing connection with Odessa. And to feel that connection, just how beautiful that is, how important that is for you, how special that is for you. And feel it here and know that you can have that peaceful feeling, that connection. Even if they are not here at this moment in this place, you can have the connection. And you can take it into the future. And you can follow that peaceful path into the future. And you can look forward to having more time with them. Not necessarily today. I don't know about next week. But because you can be peaceful, you can expect there will be more quality time, awesome time, amazing time, connecting time with them and them with you. Does that make sense, what I'm saying? And as you are experiencing what you're experiencing, what happens in you so that you can see that you can be even more peaceful than you already are becoming? What's happening for you as you see that?
It's like need to clear away the trash.
You need to clear away the trash.
All the bad people in the world.
Clear them away. Yeah. But you don't need to hit them. You don't need to hurt them. You don't need to get revenge on them. You can just ignore them. You know, they say the best revenge on someone that's hurt us is to live a peaceful life. Does that make sense for me to say that? So you can get rid of them by making them irrelevant. You don't have to literally put them in the rubbish. You can just ignore them, because otherwise they'll be in the way. And what do you think it's going to be like when is your older daughter, a bad memory, did you say her name was Lily or Lillian?
Mm-hmm.
Lillian, yeah. So when Lillian is, I don't know, in her 20s, and Odessa will be, I don't know, the late teens, something like that, or early 20s, and you are with the two of them, the three of you, having a very nice time, having a very peaceful time, having a very playful time, a very close time. How's that going to feel for you to have this experience that they are now adults and you're close with them and they're close with you? How does this feel?
The best feeling in the world.
Best feeling in the world. And you already know at least some of that best feeling in the world because that you felt that with their birth. So that best feeling in the world is something that you've known and know and can look forward to in the future. And when you look back from that time when they're adults, was it worthwhile clearing away the people that could have gotten the rape? Was it worthwhile putting all that nasty, vengeful stuff, putting that aside? Was it worthwhile making sure that you stuck to your path of being peaceful? Was it worthwhile? Yeah. Because you are a very determined person. In a number of areas you have stuck to what you knew was right for you, and you can stick to what's right for you and for them, and it doesn't have to happen immediately. It didn't happen with that doctor, with that specialist, but it did happen. And you were persistent. You didn't clear out those 4.5 tons of rubbish in 5 minutes. You had to be persistent with it. You had to work at it. But you did it. And I can imagine that you could feel really good that you have done it, satisfied. I can imagine. Yeah. And you can also look forward to having that satisfaction of having done what you needed to do to follow that peaceful path, your path, a path that you can share with Lillian, with Odessa, that they can share with each other, that they can share with you. And you don't have to see them all the time to have a close feeling with them. Even if they were living with you, just with you, they would be going to school. They wouldn't be with you all the time. They'd be playing with their friends. So you don't need to be physically with them all the time to have that feeling of closeness that you can have right now. And you could look forward to more of that in the future. Would that be agreeable?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, good. So what's happening as we're talking, Adam? What's happening for you?
I'm just thinking about what can become of the future for my kids and myself.
Yeah, and as you think about that, what sort of future do you find yourself thinking about?
My kids coming back to me and looking after them as well as I can.
Yes. And you don't need to be a perfect father. Just look after them as best you can. That's all anyone can do.
There's no such thing as perfect.
Exactly. So you can look forward to looking after them as best you can without having to be perfect. And how does that feel to you? How does that seem to you? How does that sit with you? Does it seem okay? Something to look forward to? Mm. And how real does this experience, how real is this for you? Is it just like a wishful thinking, or can you see how it really can happen?
I can see how it can happen.
Yeah. And can you see how you can happen it, how you can help it to happen?
Yeah.
Oh, that's marvellous. Well, I'm very grateful to have the opportunity to meet you. I am genuinely in awe of what you've managed to get through and not only survive it, but actually make some important changes because of it. I think what you've been able to get through and what you've been able to turn around for yourself is truly awesome and inspiring. When I try and imagine what it would have been like if I'd been in those situations, it's hard for me to even begin to think of how I could have even started to deal with it. But you've not only survived it, but you've taken charge of the situation and made changes that a lot of other people wouldn't have had the strength and determination to do. I think what you've done and what you're going to do is truly inspiring. And it's a real pleasure for me to have the opportunity to be part of helping you to simply do what you're going to do. And if this conversation can be in some way helpful for you to, so that you can be clearer about what you are going to do, then that will be a real pleasure for me. So I'm wondering, Adam, is there anything else that you might want from me in this? There's a lot more that we could talk about, a lot more that could happen, a lot more that we could do. But I'm wondering, does this seem enough, or is there something more that you might want from this?
I just want to know, am I doing the right thing for myself?
If you were to ask yourself that question, what would your answer be?
I think in myself that I am.
Yes, yes.
With other people that are around me still.
Yes.
That are talking bad things about me.
Yes.
Puts me down a little bit, and I'm just not that 100% certain if I am.
Okay. Well, we can't ever be perfectly certain about anything, but for what it's worth, I think you're doing a great job. I think you are doing the right thing. And listening, I don't know you, there's so much I can't know about you, but what I've heard you say is that you are very accurate in observing what is going to be best and to follow that up and do it. And I think that if you follow your own path as best you can, you're going to end up in pretty well the right place. That's the way it seems to me. I don't know how you hear me saying that. Does that make any difference? It does. Oh, good.
It makes a whole lot of difference because it's coming out of a person that I don't know.
Ah, well, thank you. And, I found that whatever we do, there'll always be some people who are critical. And whether you know that old saying, you can please some of the people all the time, all of the people some of the time, but you can't please all the people all the time. No matter what you do, some people are going to try and put you down. But if you know where you're going and why you're going there and the benefit of doing that, I would like to see anyone try and get in your way. I think you're a very determined man. And your determination, now that it's connected to something that is really important to you, your future and your daughter's future, and your future with them and them with you, that people can say what they want, you're going to stick to that path. That's my take on it. What do you think? I think so. No matter what anyone says, because you know how important that is for you, that's going to be more important than someone else's opinion. So what else? What else would be helpful?
Will I get through this on my own 2 feet? The things that are going on with my children at the moment.
Are you going to get through on your own 2 feet?
Yeah.
Do your children need you to?
Yes, I do.
Well, there's your answer. Don't have an option. They need you to. Well, that's it. Because they and their future is what your life's about. What you're about. So when it's that important, what you've got through already would have stuffed most people. You've already shown that you can get through things. But I don't know how you hear that. Do you believe that when I say that?
Yeah.
Very apparent to me. What else?
Oh.
Hmm?
Oh.
Okay. And I want to make sure, Adam, that I want to make sure that even though we're talking about how you are going to get through this, and it's going to be okay, less than perfect, but more than okay, I want to make sure that you know that I'm not trying to take in any way from how difficult it has been, and there may be some difficulties in the future. I'm not saying there won't be any difficulty. But it's very clear to me, and from what you're saying, I think it's getting clearer to you, that you are going to get through it. Because you've got a reason to get through it. Two of the reasons are Lillian and Odessa. Are they not? Are they worth it? Are they worth making the effort?
More than that.
More than worth it. So, perhaps you can find a way of just letting yourself sit with this until that sense of determination, which is very familiar to you, has found itself to where it needs to in yourself so that you can get ready to get on and do what you need to do to take care of them, their future, you, your future with them. And then when you have that feeling, that experience, that sense that when you think, oh, okay, it's going to be, I know what to do now. I know how to do it. I know how to be around for them and with them. When you get to that situation, then you can let your eyes open and look forward to getting out and getting on with the day. That's it. Your eyelids are starting to flutter. They're letting us know that you're getting ready to open them. That's good. Good. Right. Is there an emotion there? What's that? Do you feel sad or touched or relieved? Hmm? What's that?
A bit of all.
Okay. Have you got something planned for the rest of the day?
Tonight I'm going down to Hobart,
To
Tasmania,
me too.
I love it.
What plane are you on?
on the Virgin Blue.
Okay, what time's it
7:45 to
then?
8.
Okay, I might see you on the plane. I'm going to live in Hobart.
I've got to go down and see my auntie Lorraine that's part that will be dying in like about a year.
Okay.
So yeah,
Oh, I might see you at the airport.
I've got to go visit her.
Okay, fair enough.
I'll be going down there for 5 days.
Oh, okay. Mm.
But, yeah,
So how are we doing? What's different now?
more of a sense of mind, more of a happy feeling.
Good. And I promise you that that's not going to last and be permanent. I promise you there's going to be pain, difficulty, and challenges. Promise you. It's called being alive. But when you know that even if there are difficulties or trouble, you can get through them, well, that makes them bearable. And if you know there's a reason to, then that makes them very good, very good. So how about we leave it at that? Anything more? No, that's a pleasure. Glad to meet you. And it'd be nice if we had a little bit of time to just sort of sit quietly after this and let what you're connecting with kind of really settle in. Kind of way of doing that.
I might take it and go.
Huh?
I'll take it and go.
Okay. Very good. Well, thank you for coming along and letting me be part of your better future. It's very delightful for me to feel that I can have however small a part in contributing to you and your family, and for you being willing to be part of our life. Appreciate that a lot. Should we stop?